front door. Security to just
already infiltrated!
as ineffective as ours. Gentlemen, don't be afraid. As you can see, we are protected. Come, drink your allegiance here. You control the police. Now use them. Come, drink your allegiance here. You control the police. Now use them. Gentlemen, don't be afraid. As you can see, we are protected. Come, drink your allegiance here. You control the police. Now use them. Gentlemen, don't be afraid. As you can see, we are protected. Come, drink your allegiance here. You control the police. Now use them. Gentlemen, don't be afraid. As you can see, we are protected. Come, drink your allegiance here. You control the police. Now use them. Gentlemen, don't be afraid. As you can see, we are protected. Come, drink your allegiance here. You control the police. Now use them.
When you get married, now we have to cook, clean, work, raise children, all of it, right? Anyway, I got married really young. I was married for quite some time and I did all of that. Do you know what I've learned since I have been divorced? Is that men love it when you don't do much for them.
So guys, she got divorced because she thought the grass was greener on the other side. So let's see how she's doing now.
I got out of my marriage, I was so excited to start dating again because I had never really dated, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to find my person. I'm going to find this person. I remember thinking in my head, I was like, we're going to be so compatible. Like, I get to choose someone that can provide me with the life that I want, but also like that we're just going to have this compatibility. 3.5 years later, and reality has hit. I've just found out that I've been cheated on, not with one girl, but with several girls. When I broke up with my boyfriend who cheated on me, absolutely shattered my heart, and I was so heartbroken. I've never had a worse breakup in my life where I felt like I just was actually not going to survive, and I fell into the deepest, darkest depression. Week 2 of being on my antidepressants, and I'm so grateful to say that I haven't felt depressed. I lost so much hair last year, like my hair was coming out in clumps. I will not date a guy that doesn't go to the gym or exercise in some form. So I'm going to be honest with you, dating when I was dumb was a lot of fun. And then I went and got some standards and self-respect, and it's just not hitting how it used to. Does anyone else that's single ever think, will I actually ever feel anything for anyone ever? This guy's been trying to take me out on a date for the longest times. I caved and I was like, sure, okay. I'm free 2 weeks from when we were speaking on a Friday.
Guys, if you talk to a woman and want to take her out, and she says, I'm only free 2 weeks from now, she's not that into you. She doesn't really like you guys.
I have about a 2-hour window where I can socialise. I can socialise once a day, and that's it. If I'm going to coffee with you, I will see no one else for the rest of today. Maybe I'm naive, but I had a guy friend come down from interstate yesterday, and we went out for drinks, and we were out for a couple of hours, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to head home now. And I was like, see, it was really lovely to see you. And he looks at me and he goes, am I staying with you? Quite like sheepishly. And I was like, no. And then it dawned on me, oh, he didn't just want to catch up with me. He thought we were, yeah.
Yeah guys, so this is what happens with a lot of women that think the grass is greener on the other side. She thought that she was going to divorce the guy and she will find a better man, a man with more money, and she found the guy, and what happened? He cheated on her. And let me tell you this, the more options a guy has, the higher the likelihood that he will cheat on you. And by the way guys, if you enjoy my videos, consider subscribing.
Left this man on delivery for 12 hours and he unadded me. Know your worth, King. I ain't shit.
I had a guy ask me what my dream job was, and I told him that it's to be a stay-at-home mom, and he laughed in my face. Is something funny? What's funny? Where's the joke?
The joke is, ma'am, that if you really wanted that, you would have prioritized that. Instead of making TikTok videos, you would have prioritized finding a good man, a husband to take care of you. But you're not doing that, so of course it's laughable.
Women are becoming more feminine and so are men. There's been like an influx in girls who like pink. They're getting pink cars, like they're being more feminine, they want to be provided for. Like I feel like this is like new.
Women are becoming more competitive. Women want to become the man that they want. Women are becoming more and more masculine, ma'am. It doesn't mean that if they like pink, all of a sudden they're more feminine.
I feel like the men are also getting more and more feminine. So I don't really know what's going on, what they're putting in the groundwater, but it's making everyone more female.
I just saw a man walking with his girlfriend, his hand on her back, with the sidewalk rule. I saw him get to their car, open the door for her, hand her her bag that he was carrying, and then walk around and get in the car.
And this is the big problem that they don't understand. Instead of thinking, how did she get a man like that? Try thinking, ma'am, how did she act in that relationship for the man to be as he is with her, ma'am? Have you ever thought about what the woman is doing in order for the man to be like that? No, You just think that all women deserve to be treated like that, even if you act like shit, even if you're very masculine and loud and annoying.
Look, I think you're really nice, but before we continue dating, I need to know your bank account and salary. I just need to know that I'm not wasting my time.
Yeah, I have no problem doing this. First, I need you to show me your baby pictures and take your makeup off. I need to make sure the interior matches the paint job.
Wow.
How dare
Are
you.
you accusing me of being plastic? I'm natural.
It shouldn't be a problem, right?
But remember guys, women are more emotionally intelligent, of course,
You're being so invasive. Like, this is so rude. I'm leaving.
of course.
Okay, if a guy that you're dating or talking to is not massively elevating your life, literally, what are you doing? It's 2026. We are not just hanging out with guys or dating guys just to date a guy or have a boyfriend just to have a boyfriend. Like, ew, no. We are leveling up. We are locked in. We have too many things to do.
Okay, ma'am, I agree with you. But what are you doing in return? How are you leveling up his life, ma'am? Oh, you never thought about that because it's all about you, because you're a narcissist. I get it now, ma'am. Okay, we're just going to skip this video because it's very stupid.
You're either really bad at math or you think you're going to win the lottery. Because in North America, 14% of men are over 6 feet. Take away the partner ones, that's 7%. So your dating pool turns into a puddle.
And then account for the race, for age, for so many other criterias they have. And you're left with less than 1%. And all the women in the USA that are looking for a man, all of them think they will get that 1%.
Oh my God.
So, and then everyone's vying for that. So if you go on the apps, the same 5 to 10% of men are getting all the attention.
Right.
So do you want to be like competing with everyone else for the tall guy when we know height does not predict relationship happiness or stability? It doesn't matter. You're operating from your ego. It's not going to be a...
But remember guys, they always say that women's intuition is always right. That's why there are so many single mothers in this world.
soul connection. You want something that looks good on paper or makes you feel validated.
You are allowed to leave a good guy if you're not happy. And I think a lot of women need permission to hear that. Because
Exactly like the first woman. This is another future cat lady, guys.
I think somewhere along the way we learned that if he's nice, if he has a good job, if he checks all the boxes, then we should be grateful and we should stay. But being good on paper and being good for your life are not the same thing.
You can leave the nice guy if you want. Nobody cares. It's a free country. But maybe, if you don't actually like the nice guy and you want toxic men, maybe you should learn that from the start and not waste the nice guy's time, man. That's all we're saying. We all know that you like the toxic bad boys.
And if you've communicated your unhappiness and you've tried and there's something inside you that still wants more joy, more aliveness, more happiness.
Yes, that's called delusion, man. It's the delusion from inside of you.
More partnership, it's okay to listen to that. Because if you think about it on the flip side, would you want someone to stay with you because you're kind, you have a good job, you check all the boxes, or would...
Yes, ma'am. There are so many men in this world that grew up thinking that if they do everything right and if they're nice, and if they do everything for their woman and if they get a good job, they will get the woman that they want. And now they're finding out that women like you will never be happy, no matter what the guy does, no matter how nice he is. Don't be the simp that she settles for. We're just going to skip this video because it's very stupid.
There was one story that is heartbreaking. These strippers girl named Tens and Kaide.
This man gave up everything for the person he loved, and what happened next will break your heart.
Tens was the #1 Valorant player in the whole world. And so Tens and Kaide began to date. Well, Kaide got cancer, and Tens put his entire career on hold, retired from everything to take care of this chick. And because they couldn't see Tens anymore, that whole viewership went to go support Kaide. Tens was like seen in her background all the time, bringing her snacks, supporting her fully in her career. Kaide became a very popular streamer very quickly, and she goes into remission. The moment that she recovered from her cancer, she leaves this guy immediately and gets plowed by one of...
Another story exactly like the previous one. of the nice guy. He did everything for her, and she left.
With his friends.
I saw a girl on here say that the best revenge is to never be like them. The best revenge that you can have after a breakup, remaining true to yourself and loving yourself more than they did. Reclaim your power back.
So deep, ma'am, so deep, especially when I can see that you're reading it from somewhere else. You didn't come up with that, and you couldn't even remember that without reading it from somewhere. We're just going to skip this video because I really don't care what she has to say.
Commitment broke my heart too many times to do it again. So look, I always been that type of the girl who falls in love first and who falls harder. So I was dating with a man like for a few months. The wedding bells were ringing hard in my head. So I was searching for signs of commitment, where eventually both of us were saying, yeah, we don't date each other, blah, blah, blah. Still not calling it relationship, kind of not dating each other. So I was like, yeah, it's my boyfriend. I cannot tell it's my boyfriend, but it's my boyfriend, kind of. And it was ruining me each fucking time. Because what?
Ma'am, if you keep attracting toxic man after toxic man after toxic man, or player, or whatever, men that don't want to be in a serious relationship with you, who is the common denominator? It's always you. Now guys, just think about it. The next guy that wants to date her has to deal with all her bullshit and all her trauma from previous relationships. Trauma that she made herself. Trauma because she was attracted to a certain type of guy that didn't want to commit to her. And now the next guy has to deal with that. Why? This is why I tell you guys, never date women like this, because they're broken and you can't fix them, guys. We're just going to skip this video because it's very stupid.
I have been dating for the first time in my life at 31, and every time I tell people that, they're like, are you okay? Because this is probably the worst age to be dating. I want to tell you guys the mantra that has been helping me get through awkward.
When you hear a woman talking about mantra, you need to ignore everything after that, guys, because nothing that she says will make logical sense. It's all about feelings and auras and chakras and energies. Yeah, we're just going to skip this video, guys, because the alignment of the moons is not right now.
Let's talk having kids in your 30s. Now, a bit of context about me is that I am 33 and I don't have any children, but I do have a dog. I have never really wanted to have children, and I thought by the time I reached 33 that I would definitely want to have children, but I still feel like I haven't done everything that I want to do for myself and on my own. When will be that time? When will I want to actually have children?
Ma'am, just because you prioritize everything else in your life, don't expect at 40, when you realize that you want children, to actually find a good guy that will marry you, ma'am. And don't start making TikTok videos at 40, where are all the good men? Because you prioritized other things besides those good men when you were in your prime, ma'am.
I do think that I want that, but I'm just like so confused as to when I will actually think, wow, yeah.
I know when you will want that, ma'am. After men stop giving you attention. When men stop giving you attention, you will freak out and you will say, oh my god, it's time for me to find a husband and have children. And then it will be too late, man. Now you still see that you have options. Now men still pay attention to you. And because you're delusional, you think that you have lots and lots of time, man. But you don't.
I would really love to have kids now. I do think that the pressure is not as intense as it maybe was a few years ago, which is a good thing and is progress. But I do still feel like there is still that, people still think that if you don't have children, then you are kind of unfulfilled, and that, gosh, she must not be happy because she doesn't have children, which is like, it couldn't be further from the truth.
No, ma'am. I see you at 33 without any kids, without any boyfriend, any husband, anything. I think there must be something wrong, because otherwise a guy would have married you, ma'am. But you couldn't attract the guy that you wanted. The guy that you wanted to have kids with. Why couldn't you attract a guy like that? Because there is a problem with you, man.
I get a lot of messages asking me for advice, and so I'm going to read one of those now. As mature women, we try our best to connect with men that may seem confident, but they seem to be consumed by this notion that there are plenty of fish in the sea. For example, I spoke to this man for a year. During our first meeting, I told him that I'm only speaking for the intention of marriage, and he said that he was serious and wanted to proceed further. A couple of months went by, and he didn't care to mention me to his family, saying it's too soon. When he visited with his sister 9 months into the talking stage, he didn't even bother to introduce us.
Okay, so you saw the red flags. You knew that guy wasn't taking you seriously. Why did you stay? Why didn't you leave at the first red flag? Another woman that doesn't want to take accountability, they all see the red flags. Oh my gosh, the guy is lying to me, so what? Oh, but men shouldn't lie. Okay, but you're not living in a fantasy land. We're living in reality. In reality, there are bad people. There are people that lie to us. So what are you going to do? Are you going to hope that you just meet somebody that will never lie to you? No, it's your duty to know how to spot the red flags, to know how to spot liars. Because we're not living in the Lululand. We're living in reality, and people lie, and people cheat.
When I questioned his motives, he said, we are not exclusive yet. When I questioned him again, he said, I'm immature.
Why did you have to question him again? Why didn't you leave at the first red flag? And now why are you complaining about that guy when you saw the red flags and didn't leave? You're the stupid one. You're the one that got hurt, not him. I swear, guys, they have no accountability.
And blocked me. Keep in mind, this is a man in his 30s. Just because men are successful doesn't give them the right to play around with our emotions. What is your take on this scenario? If you want to use this as an example to demonstrate a point on maturity, I don't mind. I want my story to come across so other girls don't face the hurt I went through.
She doesn't even realize that she's the problem. There will always be bad people in this world. You can't expect everybody to not cheat, to not lie, to everybody to act right. You can't expect that. If you expect that, you're delusional. So who will keep you from getting hurt? You! Superman isn't coming to save you. You have to save yourself. I swear, guys, they have such a low IQ. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.
One of the things that haunts me because I'm 36 and I'm single is what the hell is wrong with me? What's wrong with me? And for some reason the last month I've been thinking about this a lot. Like, what is so wrong with me that I can't make something work? And, you know, the two loves of my life, I had children with them. They broke my heart, like big broke my heart, you know? And my two older kids, their dad, I met him when I was like 22, I think. And he'd come home and I'd be all excited to show him, like, look what I made, honey. I like got this recipe and da-da-da-da. And he'd take a bath, and like, he's a bath guy, and I'd sit on the toilet and we'd talk, and he's one of the loves of my life. And it got to the point where he's like, get the fuck out of the bathroom, Dana. I don't want to talk to you. Can't you just leave me be? What's wrong with you that you always have to be up my ass? And I was like, but I thought me sitting on the toilet talking to you was like our time. Like, this is our thing. It's our thing. You used to love this. used to love me doing this. And I would like drop hints. We'd go to church and the sermon would be like straight for him, you know? And I'd be like praying to God, God, please let him hear this sermon. Let him hear this sermon. And after the sermon, I'd be like, what'd you think of it? What'd you think? Do you like church? And he'd be like, I'm hungry. Can we just go? Little tiny breaks like that, you know? It changes you. And then you're broken from that. And then you go to another relationship and you fall in love with that person. And the betrayal is even bigger. I remember like after I got hit, I was like,
by the way, guys, she's pregnant again. And I'm assuming with another man because she's not with those guys anymore. So at what point, guys, does she start admitting that she doesn't know how to pick men?
what do I do now? I'm supposed to leave him, but what do I do? I can't leave him. I love him so much. And I didn't even have the power ultimately to leave him. No, he left me. He took my dignity and then he left me. And you do all the things. You do the codependent no more. You do the workbook. You read. You pray. You go to church. You ask for healing. You go to therapy. You go to therapy every week. I had to pay $100 a week for therapy. I did that for a year and a half.
And she still can't pick out a good man, guys. So why go to therapy? Why waste so much time and money?
Went every single week. And then I'm still walking around like with an emptiness. I'm like, okay, I'm better. But there's a void still. And I'm praying to God like, God, fill me, fill me, fill me. And then you go numb. You go completely effing numb. But you have this longing. You're like, but I want to be with somebody. I want to have a life with somebody. And my two older kids are going to be teenagers soon. They'll be out of the house before I know it. And I'll still be pacing around this effing house. Sad and alone, I fear.
You let him hit it raw. You didn't have second thoughts. Now you're a single mom. Now you're a single mom.
Divorce rates in the United Kingdom matches Disney movies release.
I want you to remember that when a strong woman puts pressure on a weak man, he will run to a low-value woman to validate his immature behavior.
Guessing you. Let me translate, guys. If he doesn't want me, it's not because of me. It's just because he likes low-value women, okay?
You get kind of aggressive in relationships.
Yeah, I am a little bit aggressive. I don't like saying aggressive. Like, you Americans call it aggressive. I call it passionate.
The rest of the world calls it delusion, ma'am.
Lento is creepy. Oh my god. Oh, kurwa. Ready? Oh, kurwa. Father-in-law. Kurwa. How are you?
By the way, kurwa means hoe.
So is kurwa. Oh no. Oh, kurwa. Finally! Kurwa!
Difference is that women talk about everything all the time and want to know every part of your life to know you as a person. And men could literally know you for 10 years and not know you have 3 children or what day your birthday is, or that you have a mother and father, or even what country you're from. I mean, like, they could actually not know any of these pieces of information.
Not everyone is gonna like this one, but when y'all be like, how did you fall from your head? Never send you no money, he ain't never... Boo, maybe I just really liked his heart. Maybe it was funny. Maybe it wasn't about the materialistic things. And you know what? Maybe that's what made me a fool. I don't know, but like...
Tell me about the dating scene. You're single, I'm assuming.
I'm single. How about you? Single?
No, I'm married.
No, I thought there was a vibe. All right. No, I've done
some electricity.
Yeah, you do the dating apps. Sometimes the pictures never match the occupation. It's
what does that mean?
Well, there was like a gorgeous woman bent over with a finger in her mouth, and I'm like, St. Jude's Children's Hospital, I guess. If you say so. I don't know.
You want to know how dramatic girls actually are? I just asked my brother if he broke up with his girlfriend because he changed his Instagram profile picture from him and his girlfriend to a picture of him and one of the side men. And he looked at me like, what the fuck? No, I just changed my profile picture because I thought that picture was really cool. Boys are really simple and also lack brain cells, and girls wake up.
Women cannot resist a man who does this. He walks away from drama instead of engaging with it. He says no without justifying himself. He remains calm. even when she's losing it. He has a life that she can't fully access because he knows not everything needs to be shared. He treats her well as long as it's reciprocated. Put simply, men who are irresistible are that way because of choices they consistently make.
So, I, for whatever reason, have just felt a desire to date, to go on dates, get to know people, have fun, whatever, chase my joy. Very quickly, I realized from Hinge that people are looking for pen pals. I don't want a pen pal. I don't give a fuck what you did today. I don't give a fuck to tell you about what I did today.
Well, maybe that's why you can't find a man, ma'am. Maybe that's why you're single and nobody wants you, ma'am.
If you're not gonna ask me out, leave me alone. Literally leave me alone.
But what's the worst thing someone has ever done to you? And this bird's written, I cheated on my ex. It was a one-time thing. And after he found out from a mutual friend, his response was to sleep with not one, not two, but all 5 of the girls in my best friend group over the course of a month.
That's pretty lenient.
That's a good effort.
I think
in
it's
a month.
Yeah, he's done well. And they, not really good friends of hers, obviously.
Well, that's what she's saying. So needless to say, I'm no longer friends with them, and now she's got trust issues for life, and she got rid of the bloke as well. Yeah. So he's actually just fucking destroyed her life.
She's lost 6. Well,
good friends. So.
Play silly games, win silly prizes.
Yeah.
Uni is 22, claims to be a Christian, and looking for a long-term relationship. Okay, dude. Like, no worries, we fixed it. See, I don't know why it's so difficult for y'all to put a freaking shirt on. Now we have Laura. Okay, bro. Has the cross right in between her cleavage. But no worries at all. We have Isabella, who's 30 years old, claims to be a Catholic, also looking for a long-term relationship. And she's partying downtown in a bra. But no worries, because we fixed it yet again. Lastly, we have Anne.
Guys, if you go for women like this and if you don't see the red flags just from her profile, it's nobody's fault but yours when she cheats. It's nobody's fault when she ghosts you but yours.
Anna, another Catholic, looking for a long-term relationship, partying downtown in a bra, drinking alcohol. Worry not, because we fixed it. Making women Christian again, one dating profile at a time. That's so tough.
If people should be able to do whatever they want with their bodies, why do we have a law that you need to wear clothes in public?
You gotta wear clothes in public, obviously.
Why?
Because you have to. Like, you can't just be naked. That's just crazy.
Why?
I think clothes are restrictive. I think clothes suck, to be fair.
I think it's gotten a lot looser. Like in society, maybe 100 years ago, again, wearing what I'm wearing would be like, look at her, you know, whatever. I think it's just gotten it's changed a lot, but I think in general, like terms of covering up has just become something like, I think a lot of it has to do with kids.
When you hear single women saying, I can't find a good man, you're not finding them. You're not discovering them with a telescope to see where they're at. No, you're sorting through them. There's a difference. Yeah, because you have your choice. You are the one in power. You can be like, no, too stupid, too ugly, too hairy. Next. We can't do that as guys. We can't be like, no, too crazy. Too crazy. That comes standard in all of them? Okay. I like doing that joke because there's 2 types of women in the room right now. The ones that laughed at that joke, kiss them. Those are beautiful women. They know how to take a joke. They know I didn't say that personally to them. Then there's the ones that are staring at me like this. Because she thinks I'm talking about her. And I am.
My boyfriend's grandfather passed away, and he's a very closed-off, emotionally person. And he started crying, you know, because his grandfather's being lowered into the ground. And I turned to him and I just dabbed.
Wait, what?
Yeah, like the thing from like 2016. I dabbed at him.
Wait, you dabbed like the grandpa or your crying boyfriend?
I dabbed at my crying boyfriend.
No.
What did he do? His family just looked at her and shook their head.
You dabbed?
Oh my God.
You dabbed. The man was being lowered into the ground, and you decided of all things you could have done.
Guys, I don't think there's actually any normal single people left on this earth. Right? Because why? Single men on this earth, right? Because why? Today.
Again, your personal experience doesn't matter. Just because you're meeting shitty men, It doesn't mean that all men are like that. You just show that you have a low IQ. You don't understand statistics.
Hey, some man messaged me on one of those horrible apps and said,
Oh, are you talking about those horrible apps that nobody forced you to download? And you keep deleting and re-downloading them because you think you can meet Prince Charming, but each time you get let down by them, but you continue downloading them. Are you talking about those apps? Oh, okay.
Hello, whatever, and then went, do you want to be a wifey and would you like to be a MILF? And I was like, okay, well, I'm bored, so I'll just continue this conversation. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And he goes, well, how many kids would you like? And I was like, well, at least 2, but no more than 3 because that means then you'll have to have an ugly car. And then he goes, well, it might have to be 4 because of the amount of sex we'd be having. Like,
and whose fault is that, man? Did he force you to continue the conversation? No. So why are you complaining on the internet about your own decisions? We're just going to skip this video because it's very stupid. Very stupid.
She didn't know it yet, but she's about to have the worst night of her life. You went on a date with a guy you met a few nights before a party. He'd been super charming, The restaurant had a nice vibe, okay. We laughed, we shared stories, all right. Then came to the question, what do you do for work? Uh-oh. You told him the truth, you're on only... Ooh, Houston...
She's on Only Simps, guys.
We have a problem. His expression shifted instantly, the warmth disappeared. Duh. He pushed his chair back, stood up, and suddenly the room felt painfully quiet. Without a word, he tossed some cash on the table and walked out. In that moment, you felt small, not because of what you do, but because of how quickly he judged you. Well, yeah, you're an online prostitute. Buddy saw the missile and dodged it like a pro, and you're...
Of course, ma'am. Why do you expect everybody to treat you like a lady when you show everybody on the internet that you're not a lady? Why, ma'am? Another woman complaining about her own decisions in life. Low IQ. Next.
Over here, I'm a... And he paid for your meal. Like, he didn't go far enough, in my opinion.
Yeah, he should have split the bill.
Honestly, you got it so easy. Maybe you should call your father and apologize. That's so tough.
Guys, someone just asked me out. We were in the queue for the toilets and we had a bit of banter. And he said, can I take you for a drink sometime? And I thought, let me just ask this simple question. I said, are you a feminist? And have you spent time thinking about your privileges as a male? Do you understand the nuances of the trans debate? And do you always sit on the right side of it? And
From the start, you get up, you laugh in her face, and then you turn around and you run. You run as fast as you can.
The dating apps have officially humbled me. You know, you see there.
Oh no, another woman complaining about the dating apps that she downloaded, that she wanted to use, that nobody forced her to use. Oh no.
There's 20 new people interested in you. You're excited to open up the app. The characters that I see. Now listen.
These women that are complaining about the dating apps, you have to understand that they're not 20 anymore, guys. They're 35, 40, whatever. So it's not the first time that she deleted a dating app and then re-downloaded it, hoping that something will change. So at what point are you just going to realize that it's your fault? Take accountability.
I'm not delusional. I know I'm not 20 years old. I know, looks-wise, I don't think I'm a 10. I don't think I'm a 9. I don't think I'm not... I know what I'm bringing to the table, which, I mean, I have self-respect. I'm not a loser. I'm not the girl you wake up next to and have to gnaw your arm off. Like, I get that. These guys, the confidence. But I'm not saying... but... They think we're matches. You have no teeth! Why don't you have teeth?
Guys, I'm down bad, okay? Okay, I'm down bad. Last night I go on a date with a guy, and he was like really cute. Like I was very struck by his cuteness in person, and he hated.
From the start, we know this is a bust. How? Because when a woman thinks a guy is so handsome, it's clear that guy has a lot of options. So the probability that he will pick her is very, very low.
He hated me. Like, have you ever been on a date where you just can tell someone hates you and you don't know why? I, for once in my life, wasn't weird. I didn't say that I think 80% of men are gay. I didn't tell him about my AI fears. I didn't do any of my strange voices. Like, I was normal. I asked him where he was from. I asked about his dog.
They don't understand why they're still single. This is why.
I was quite nice and was fine, and he just could tell he hated me, and I'm feeling really spirally about it because I...
Yes, ma'am, because that guy is a Chad and he has a lot of experience with women, you didn't have to say all that for him to understand that you're crazy, that you're a feminist. That's why it didn't work out.
Whoever has the glow up after the breakup was not the problem. No. They were the one being weighed down. So look.
Do you understand their logic? So if after a breakup, your ex, even though she was crazy, she cheated on you, she loses weight, she goes to the gym, and she looks better now, it wasn't her fault for cheating, it was your fault. You drove her to cheat. Do you understand their logic? How do you want to be with women like this? Do you understand that I would be ashamed? I would be ashamed to have a girlfriend like this. Why? Because anytime I would go somewhere with my friends and with her, I would have to pray to God for her not to say something stupid like this. Because the whole table will laugh at her. Because this is not the USA and people don't care about your feelings.
Look at a couple when they break up. Which one took off, started doing better in life, started killing it in life, traveling, kicking goals, getting better job opportunities, thriving, and which one is still stuck around the same people they said they'd never go back to, around the same losers, doing the same shit every day. Just in Loserville.
Because one of them was being held down. And they say that breakup glow up needs to be studied because it's fucking crazy.
No, ma'am. You know what it needs to be studied? Your brain. Because it doesn't make sense. How did your brain evolve to think like this? Now that's a fun experiment. That needs to be studied. We're just going to skip this video because it's very stupid.
When men say they like a natural woman, what they mean is they want someone who's an inexpensive upkeep.
A cheap, inexpensive woman, that's a fairy tale, my friend, a lie. A bedtime story told by stuck-up women who think other women need to be like them to cover up some form of insecurity. Look, every woman is expensive, every damn one of them. Some just run on lashes, leggings, and lattes, designer bags, Botox budgets, and oat milk obsessions. They're like startup companies and stilettos, polished, pricey, and prone to emotional software crashes if you ignore their Instagram story. Then there's my wife. Beautiful? Hell yeah. But her brand of beauty comes with barn boots, bug bites, and buckets of feed. Her spa day is scrubbing the water trough and slapping a tick off her gelding at sunset. You think she cares about a chipped nail? Hell, she just built a fence with her damn fist. She don't sneak shopping bags into the house. She smuggles saddles like she's running tack for the cartel. You ever date a woman with a horse? No, because you don't date them, you serve them. And they're hoofed hellions.
I can't because you sound exactly like those women that just talk too fast. You're so annoying.
I think I have high standards.
What are those standards?
Oh no, you're putting me in a trap here.
I'm just asking what your standards are. If someone asking you your standards is a trap, then you might be the problem.
True.
Well, I'm 30, so you can't be like too old and too young. You can't be shorter than I am. I'm 5'5". Yeah, I mean, we have to be able to laugh and like vibe and like, share the same humor.
So far, you've only found 45-year-old dwarves with no personality. I don't see anyone that meets that description. Where are you matching with people?
She forgot to say that they also have to be very handsome and also have to make a lot of money.
The chocolate factory. What's happening? How are you finding these unfunny dwarves?
The other day, I did find someone at the grocery store accidentally.
You found someone?
At the grocery store.
Were they on the shelf next to the syrup?
No, it was kind of like a cute movie scene. But then he ghosted me the other week after like 6 weeks. So.
What movie?
So that means that the guys that you like are out of your league. That's why he ghosted you, man. He probably just slept with you and then ghosted you.
Finding Nemo.
Why do men always try to fix our problems instead of listening to us? Understand something, honey.
Because why would I stay there and listen to you for 2 hours bitch about something when we can just fix it? It doesn't make sense. It's not logical to us. That's why we try to fix it, because talking doesn't help things.
He is not trying to silence you. He is loving you in the only language he knows. Now picture this. You walk into your bedroom after a long day. Your chest is tight, your mind is heavy, you're craving connection, not solutions. You sit on the edge of the bed, you look at your husband, and you start opening up, slowly, carefully, and emotionally. And before you can even finish the second sentence, he interrupts you. Babe, here's what you should do. Or, you know what the problem is? Okay, let's fix it like this. And instantly, your heart drops. You feel unheard and unseen. But listen to me.
If you don't understand reason and logic, it's not our problem. The world doesn't revolve around your feelings or talking.
Men try to fix us because they love us. Because in a man's world, fixing is loving. When you're hurting, he feels that in his body. Your pain makes him tense. Your sadness makes him restless. And your overwhelm makes him uncomfortable.
Just think about it, guys. She has to explain it like this in a video. Do you understand how strange that to me is? When you're talking to a woman and she is just complaining and you want to fix the problem and she doesn't understand why you're saying that, and you have to show her a video like this for her to understand. To me, that's strange. Guys, the world doesn't work like this. You shouldn't tiptoe around the subject just because she can't control her feelings. If she's like that, I get you love her. But if she's like that, she's not worth having beside you. Why? Because that's not a rational person. At any point in your life, in your marriage, she can leave just because of her feelings. You can't build a relationship with somebody that bases their entire reality around feelings.
Not because he doesn't care, but because he cares so much that he can't stay still or quiet. He wants to take your pain away. He wants to reach into your chest and pull it out and carry it himself.
That's not true, ma'am. That's not true. It's because if there is a problem, the only logical solution is to fix it if you can. Just think about it, guys. Trying to solve an equation. 2 plus 2. And instead of trying to figure out the answer, you talk about your feelings and why 2 is in that shape. And why is plus a plus? And why is minus a minus? And what does equal mean? And to talk about the space and stars and shit like that, it doesn't make sense. It's just crazy talk.
Women speak 2 totally different emotional languages. Yours is connection, his is action. Psychology proves this. Women regulate stress by expressing their emotion. Men regulate stress by solving the threat. When you start talking, your instinct is, I need to feel understood. His instinct is, I need to protect her. You want empathy, he wants effectiveness. You want presence, but he wants solutions. It's not that he doesn't care.
This is why you need to find somebody that thinks like you. If not, the relationship won't work.
Your wife cheated on you when you had cancer?
Yeah, with one of my friends. I feel like I'm mentally fucked from trusting somebody.
How long were you guys married for?
8.
Again, your personal experience don't matter. Just because you didn't know how to pick a woman and that woman cheated on you, it doesn't mean that all women are like that.
8 years.
And then on the 8th year, she cheated on you.
When I had cancer, yeah.
What kind of cancer did you have?
I had classic Hodgkin's lymphoma, so my lymph nodes turned to cancerous tumors. When I was in the hospital on life support, she was texting me saying she wanted me to get her a fucking $2,500 party bus and didn't visit me once. How do you forgive any of that? I literally had tubes shoved down my throat. I was pretty sure I was going to die alone and unloved.
I can bet, guys, I can bet whatever you want that she showed signs before this. Don't tell me you were with her for 8 years, and you didn't see any sign just then. I don't believe you. But I can bet because you were in love with her, you ignored every red flag.
I never did anything bad. Like, I make good money. I was a great provider. I did everything. I'm sick, fucking going through chemotherapy and throwing up. She got me 1 glass of water the whole time. I got my own medication. My dad took me to the hospital for all my treatments. But when I got on life support, I was there for 9 days.
Wow, you're on life support as well.
Like, going through chemo towards the end, like, you have no immune system. So my body just shut down.
So you were going through cancer, you were about to die, and she cheats on you. How'd you find that out, by the way? I'm just curious.
People, we worked together, and people at work said, like, be careful, and then she started texting all the time, and I never went through her phone, I never invaded her privacy, never did anything.
Hey, so from the start, as I said, you ignore the red flags. You see a woman that is always on her phone, and you don't check her phone because you think that's being overprotective, that's being an asshole, I don't know, that's being controlling. From the start, you just show that you don't know how to pick a woman. When your girlfriend or your wife tries to hide things, from the start you know it's bad. Why? Because people don't try to hide things that aren't bad.
I told her one time, I said, please stop talking to him, it makes me uncomfortable. She's fucking giggling in the car and whatever, and I said, I've never asked this one time.
From the start you can see he was a simp, he had no authority in that relationship.
Let me see your phone. And she jumped out of the car and ran away to delete her phone. And she's like, I'm so sorry, I'll never talk to him again. Well, I was like, I fucking knew it.
You know, that's very powerful. I had a friend that told me if you want to find out how loyal your girl is to you, randomly just ask her for her phone. And if she hesitates, then there's something fishy about what she's doing with other men.
100%, dude.
And how'd you mentally get over that?
Yeah, and I didn't divorce her right away. I tried forgiving her, and then I could...
What did I tell you guys? He tried forgiving her. This is a sin. Oh my god, I hate sin so much. I hate sin. This is why women can behave the way that they behave. That's why she texted the guy right next to you. Why? Because she knew there would never be any consequences because you're a simp. You're soft as hell. We're just going to skip this video because it's very, very stupid. And I hate simps. Stop being a simp.
Mom told me for 20 years my dad was dead. Later, I found out he was alive, and I have 50 plus siblings.
Drop the Netflix doc.
Growing up, I
Okay, so the dad was a Chad, okay.
always remembered my mom being a single mom. I don't remember the exact moment she told me my dad was dead because I was so young. I have kind of always known. My mom told me that my dad died in a car accident 2 months before I was born. She said he was hit by a drunk semi-driver and was killed instantly on impact. Obviously, no one questions their own mother, especially at a young age. You believe their every word. This is what I always told people growing up if they asked me about my dad. I would say I don't have a dad because he was killed. My mom took this lie so far to the point that even on financial aid papers, she claimed to be a widower. I never caught on to the lies, but when I asked questions, she said things that just made sense to me. Like, quote, Mom, why don't you have any photos of Dad? She told me they all burned in a house fire started by dryer right after I was born. This made sense because we had moved to a new house when I was very young. I tried to research my dad and his death, but nothing ever came of it. I assumed because back in the day they didn't have computers or internet and nothing was online. I later found out his name was Donald, according to my birth certificate. I had to force my mom to give to me so I could get my license. A lot of the times I tried to ask more questions when I got older, but my mom became visibly angry when I did this. Eventually I just stopped because I didn't want to get yelled at anymore. I tried asking family members questions and literally no one, even my grandma, knew. My mom and grandma are super close, so this was odd to me.
Then just proving my point that women go after the Chads. And then when they get pregnant and the guy doesn't want the kid because he has 50 other kids, she becomes a single mother.
Yeah.
Fast forward to when I was 19. I started to see a therapist after being a victim of attempted kidnapping and diagnosed with PTSD.
What?
My therapist told me to take a DNA test. I asked my mom to pay for it because I was a poor college student. She right away got so mad and yelled at me. She claimed that the government was going to clone my DNA and sell it. So I never ended up taking it.
What the hell, guys? I thought it was the entire video. It ended here. I'll try to find the video for next time. It sucks, guys, because I don't watch the videos before I react to them. Because I don't like doing that. I want for you to see my genuine reaction to a video. So I never know if a video is complete or not. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.
This video is sponsored by Raycon. Keep watching to find out how you can get 15% off your next purchase. Now, genuine question. Have any of you ever been to work and experienced that guy? Hi, I'm Kona the Harlequin, and welcome back to Live from the Black Library, where today I want to talk to you about how everybody hates Rabute Gilliman. And when I say hates, I mean he tends to end up on the bad side of a lot of people, and a lot of people are really annoyed with him. Obviously, more people hate, like, Horace Lupercal than they do Gilliman, but for where he is, the Loyalist Primarch, the returned avenging son, and the guy who is arguably doing the best throughout the heresy, he still seems to end up on the receiving end of an inordinate amount of flack. It's not justified hatred. But at the same time, when you look at every little thing, you kinda get it. But before we get into it, I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you have not already done so. Consider supporting me on Patreon, checking out my Discord server, or checking out my merch store, all linked down below. And without any further ado, let's get into why everybody hates Rabute Gilliman. Now, the Gilliman hate train actually goes all the way back to his time on Macragge. And I find that really interesting because most Primarchs were generally speaking either universally loved or universally hated when they took over their planets. And if they were hated, it was usually only a small group of people or scattered individuals. Lionel Johnson, Lorgar, Fulgrim, Magnus, Leman Russ, Rogel Dorn, all of them were very well liked. And I'm not saying Rabute Gilliman wasn't, because he very much was. Honestly though, it seems really hard to hate Gilliman considering just how much of an active worker he really is. And you just know he almost certainly listens to music while he works to help himself focus. Which is why he would love the sponsor of today's video, Raycon. That's right, this message is
Let me tell you a crazy story about something that just happened to me. So I've got an electric toothbrush. It goes and stuff, and it's so much better than an ordinary toothbrush where I have to move it back and forth with my dweeby little hands. Except lately I actually have had to use the boring toothbrushes that I move with my dweeby little hands because I lost my electric toothbrush. Or so I thought. I was like, I don't even take this thing out of my apartment. It doesn't leave my bathroom. There's an extremely limited number of places it could be. How the hell does my electric toothbrush just vanish? I was traveling recently, but I didn't bring my electric toothbrush along because I was going to fly for part of that, and I'm not sure what the status of its battery vis-a-vis putting it in luggage is. For that trip, I had bought some toothbrushes while I was there, so at least I had some toothbrushes to use instead. And by the way, isn't it funny that the plural of toothbrush is toothbrushes? It doesn't sound right. Toothbrushes sounds like something adorably incorrect a 4-year-old would say. It should be something like Tushbri. Well, anyway, you won't believe where I ended up finding my electric toothbrush. That, boys and girls, was a jump scare. So called because it makes you jump. Did you jump? Did you have some kind of startle response? You should have. If not, you should get that checked out. Why did you jump? It's common for a doctor to test your reflexes by hitting your patellar tendon below your knee, which causes your muscles in your lower leg to contract and your foot to kick forward. It's easy to think of reflexes that way, as a purely mechanical feature of the tendons and bones and nerves that make up your body. No more thought going on there than there is in a car moving forward when you step on the gas. But reflexes involve thinking too. Very fast thinking. You jumped because you thought you were being attacked, and then you realized it wasn't a real threat. It was just a loud noise and a scary 3D rendering of Jollibee. But did that occur to you? Did the thought cross your mind? Wait, my previous impression of an imminent threat was wrong. That is merely digital art of an anthropomorphic durian upon the screen of my personal computing device. Of course you didn't. You heard the noise, saw the scary Jollibee, your brain assessed that as a threat, you jumped, and then your brain said, false alarm, nothing to see here. And you kept watching, without it ever really occurring to you that any of those thoughts were being thunk. When you jumped just now, there was thought going on in your brain, just not conscious thought. So much of your life is not consciously experienced, and you can establish how much by asking people things they don't realize they don't know. The electric toothbrush story I opened with was a red herring, but in writing it, I realized I don't know what color my actual toothbrush is. Do you? I use it twice a day, but I cannot describe it beyond it's a toothbrush. You can go through life without ever thinking consciously about important parts of it. I'll never know what color the toothbrush I threw away before this one was. If that somehow came up in conversation, I'd probably say I forgot, but I didn't forget. I never had a conscious thought about the color of my toothbrush. How far does this extend? Having a bunch of autistic special interests that I pay attention to, and being around people who have special interests that I don't share, has made me realize just how much of the world we miss. One of my special interests that I'm not sure I've ever mentioned before is airline routes and schedules. So when someone says they flew somewhere exotic, I'll often ask them, oh, what airline did you fly on? And often the answer is, they don't remember. So then I'll ask, what airports did you fly through? And then I can often guess the airlines from the route, but sometimes people don't even remember that. As a teenager, I'd often drive from Eugene to Portland to pick up my dad after he came back from a business trip, and on the drive home I'd ask him, what airports did you go through? And sometimes he didn't know. He's a frequent enough flyer that he didn't consciously think about his route at all, but he successfully got home. You can input information into your brain without thinking about it. Is it possible to go through life, doing everything a normal life would entail, hardly ever coming across as weird to the people you meet, without being conscious? Most philosophers and psychologists say yes, though not all. A person who isn't conscious, but outwardly seems to be, is called a philosophical zombie. I already brought up the concept of philosophical zombies, P-zombies, as they are known in the biz, in an episode a few months ago that was about the different cultural ways we perceive and define color. A P-zombie could look at Jollibee, see the yellow wavelength hitting its eyes, and say, that's a yellow durian. And I'd say, it certainly is, my conscious friend who has internal subjective experience. Only it would know that it doesn't have internal subjective experience, and by definition, you can't know that. Can you have an entire society of P-zombies? One that seems from outward experience to be completely normal, but inside the heads of the citizens, everyone is just perceiving everything the way I perceive my toothbrush, where the actions are taking place but without the experience of them, where there's nothing that it's like to be these people? One man, in one of the most controversial and unusual history books of the 20th century, claims that not only is this possible, it was the default state of humanity for thousands of years. Let's talk to some gods. But first, you don't need internal subjective experience to enjoy the Tor store. Does this Jollibee sweatshirt make you feel hot, or is that just a mechanical function of your thermoreceptor nerves? It doesn't matter. Does this poster of Thimble and her sisters look cool, or does it look cool? Even a zombie can tell. Here's an idea for a little game you can play. Pretend to be a P-zombie and start talking to people on the Tor's Cabinet Discord. See how long it takes for people to notice that anything's up. Join the Discord by contributing to the Tor's Cabinet Patreon. Patreon.com/Tor's Cabinet. Also get extra curiosities on Patreon, discounts for the Tor store, live streams, and starting very soon, early release videos. I'm your host, Tor Parsons. These are my co-hosts, Jollibee the Durian, Thimble the Doll, and Sluds the Shaga. and you are currently experiencing the mysterious tourness of Tor's Cabinet of Curiosities. The world ended in 1200 BCE. Within the span of a few years, the Fertile Crescent, the area comprising the early civilizations of Egypt, Mesopotamia, and modern-day Greece and Turkey, fell into total war and anarchy, the likes of which had never been seen before in human history, and, in terms of how universal it was, may never be seen again. A cascading series of collapses rolled across the Near East, not all happening at the same time, but more of a gradual chain reaction. Nearly every major city on the Mediterranean was destroyed or abandoned within a span of 50 years. Millions became refugees. Some of these probably took to boats and, with no other chance at a comfortable life, became pirates, the infamous Sea People, ransacking the few ports where the social order remained intact, further spreading the collapse. If you were an alien studiously observing the world at this time, it must have seemed like the 1,000-year experiment in human civilization, agriculture, cities, writing, money, governments, had simply failed. That was the end of that, and now it was back to the hunter-gatherer days. That seems to be what lots of people thought at the time. 90% of settlements in some parts of Greece were abandoned. Entire written languages were forgotten. What happened? Historians point to a variety of causes: plague, volcanic climate change, even improvements in metalworking that allowed barbarians to make better weapons to plunder the cities with, but no one explanation answers everything. Civilization gradually clawed its way back. Some kingdoms, like Egypt, survived more or less intact, poorer and weaker, but retaining the same power structure they'd had before the collapse. Over the centuries of recovery, the late Bronze Age collapse left psychological scars on the people who came after. Nearly every society of the Near East developed a myth of a historic golden age when everything was better, perceiving the world around them as quite literally post-apocalyptic, fallen, forsaken by the gods. This last part was very important. In the Golden Age, everyone insisted, the gods were down here with us. Now they retreated to somewhere. Where the gods were now depended on the culture, but one part was universal. The gods have abandoned us. In the aftermath of the Bronze Age collapse, we see the first recorded prayers that match their modern form, begging a deity to be with us. Older prayers thank the gods, they ask them to do specific things, but they never ask for the presence of the gods. That's just assumed. Demons make their first appearance. Before the collapse, there's barely any documentation of a belief in demons. Oracles become widespread. Omens, too. People start trying divination. From fire, water, stars, animal guts, everything and anything. Practices that, again, didn't seem to exist before the collapse. A tablet from the reign of Tukulti, a king of Babylon, right around the time of the collapse, describes this process in language that couldn't be clearer. The author of this tablet, a minor feudal lord, writes about his increasingly desperate attempts to bring the gods back, as if he's an eyewitness to a major historical event like a battle or an earthquake. In this tablet, the gods' abandonment of the Babylonians very much doesn't seem to be a metaphor. There's no reference to war or plague or any of the other catastrophes said to have caused the Bronze Age collapse, at least not at first. This poor guy was punished by the king for an unnamed transgression, and the moment that happened, his personal gods deserted him. He describes it very matter-of-factly. Normally, he prays, and the gods respond. Until suddenly, one day, no response came. My god rejected me, he disappeared. My goddess left, she departed from my side. The protective spirit of good fortune who was at my side split off. My divine guardian became terrified and sought out another. This doesn't feel like the process of a modern-day religious person losing their faith. He still has his faith. He's still feverishly praying, desperately trying to bring his gods back. His gods used to be right by his side, offering him advice, and all of a sudden, to his surprise, they're gone. He has no idea what happened. He resorts to all the methods I already described and more. The diviner could not determine the situation with divination. The dream interpreter could not clarify my case with incense. I prayed to the dream god, but he did not open my ear. The exorcist with his rituals did not release the divine anger against me. So we're in a world where being deserted by the gods is a thing that can happen to people. So we've already invented all these other pseudo-religious rituals which are attempts to bring the gods back. Once the collapse fully got underway, these would become what religion is made of. Our poor nobleman is trying all these methods, still believing that he might get a response like the ones he used to know, and when the gods respond, he'll know. But he keeps on getting the silent treatment from the gods that he insists used to literally answer his prayers. And then the word gets out among the populace that the local lord's gods have deserted him, and then a popular uprising brews against him, leading to anarchy and collapse. Plenty of other sources from around the time of the Bronze Age collapse have this exact narrative. First, the gods abandoned us, before anything else bad had happened. The disappearance of the gods, independent from any other tangible event, was a specific thing. One by one, we all noticed this happen to us. And then we saw wars and famines and societal collapse as a reaction to the disappearance of the gods. But it is a metaphor, of course, right? I mean, there weren't literally gods or godlike beings on Earth before the Bronze Age collapse. Don't worry, I'm not going there. This isn't going to be about ancient aliens or anything. It's arguably weirder, because it's not only religion that has changed in the aftermath of the collapse. Religion has changed, sure. Pre-collapse Near Eastern temples were oriented around a big idol that was treated as a literal physical god. There were daily sacrifices to it, but they weren't that ritualistic. If anything, they were very unceremonious. You fed the god like you feed your cat. In most city-states in Mesopotamia, attendants would bring in bread and cakes and meat for the god, and then leave, for the god to enjoy the meal. The famous Babylonian king Hammurabi sent the following message about bringing the idols from a conquered fiefdom to Babylon. I am sending now Zakir-Elisu the officer and Hammurabi Bani the Dugab officer to bring the goddesses of Emutbalum. Let the goddesses travel in a processional boat as in a shrine as they come to Babylon. For the food of the goddesses, you shall provide sheep. Even though these goddesses belonged to a conquered city-state, even while they were just being shipped, they had to be fed, because of course they did. They were living gods, right? In some places, idols were even periodically carried to a temple of another god, one that they were married to in the mythology, for a conjugal visit. A curtain was closed, it was assumed the gods were having sex, and then after a few hours, the idol would go back home, carried on the shoulders of its human, self-described slaves. After the collapse, this was completely inverted. What was worshipped was the absence of the gods, sometimes in a very literal sense. The tablet I described from the reign of Tukulti seemed to take place at a time when the gods had already deserted most people. At the time the gods went silent for this nobleman, the question, what do you do when the gods stop answering your prayers, was already something of a hot-button issue in Mesopotamia, and the answer usually appears to have been, beg for them to come back. An engraving of the king Tukulti shows him kneeling before an empty throne, representing his god that has disappeared. Depicting a king prostrating himself like this would be an unthinkable act of desperation in previous eras of Mesopotamia. The king was a god himself, or at least closer to the gods, until, it seems, during the reign of Tukulti, the world broke, and now he wasn't. But there's another thing that noticeably changes after the Bronze Age collapse. All of a sudden, texts have much more complex emotion in them. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, we see new post-collapse retellings feature Gilgamesh pondering his inner thoughts after his friend Enkidu died. Why is thy heart so sad? And why are thy features so distorted? Why is there woe in thy heart? And why is thy face like unto one who has made a far journey? This introspection doesn't appear in earlier versions of the epic. In an earlier version called the Yale Tablet, Gilgamesh is still mourning, but he treats grief as something external imposed on him. Over in Greece, the Iliad has a similarly alien conceptualization of emotions. There is no word in the Iliad that directly corresponds to mind or thinking. The equivalent words refer literally to body parts as the source of emotions or ideas, and when characters are uncertain or confused about something, that's consistently portrayed as competing emotions rising from different parts of their body, seemingly without their control, which is certainly a way you could describe emotions today, but it feels very autistic, I guess you could say. Like you're a puppet of your separate, unknowable emotions. In the post-collapse version of Gilgamesh, as well as the Odyssey, which was most likely written much later than the Iliad, despite also being attributed to the probably mythical Homer, our hero's internal monologue feels achingly human. Pre-collapse, characters don't really have internal monologues such as we think of them. And from what we can tell, real people seem to have more coherent internal monologues too, post-collapse, or at least they're writing about it more. Pre-collapse writings are extremely direct and matter-of-fact. Here's a letter from Hammurabi to a vassal king in the 1700s BCE. I wrote you telling you to send Enubi Marduk to me. Why then haven't you sent him? When you see this tablet, send Enubi Marduk into my presence. See that he travels night and day, that he may arrive swiftly. No reason given for Enubi Marduk being summoned, nothing subjective whatsoever. Compare this to a letter from an unnamed Assyrian king about 1,000 years later. So help you heaven, have turned yourselves into Babylonians, and you keep bringing up against my servants charges, false charges, which you and your master have concocted. The document, nothing but windy words and importunities, which you have sent me, I am returning to you, after replacing it into its seals. So much more personality, subjectivity, theory of mind for other people right there on display. On its own, this isn't evidence for anything, but it's interesting how consistent the shift is. Before the collapse, writings are dry and direct and don't really seem to acknowledge that other people have unique minds. After it, like flipping on a light switch, we suddenly get emotional complexity. What's going on? Enter Julian Jaynes. He was a big deal in the mid-20th century, one of those consummate academics of an old-school tradition, with such a broad range of interests and specialties that rather than calling him anything specific, like a psychologist or a classicist, he's best described simply as an intellectual. Jaynes taught psychology at Princeton from the 60s through 90s, but also studied ancient languages and made his own translations of Homer. In the 50s, when Jaynes was a lecturer at Yale, he had become interested in the work of Roger Sperry, who discovered a lot of what we now know about the difference between the left brain and the right brain, and later won a Nobel Prize for it. Through experiments on people who had undergone a surgical procedure for epilepsy, where they'd had most of the nerves connecting the two halves of their brain cut, Sperry found that the two hemispheres of the brain can each effectively function as their own brain, except for a handful of important functions like language, which seems to be localized to the left brain. One of Sperry's weirdest findings was that the right brain can interpret signals and function perfectly well on its own, but not in a way we would perceive as conscious. Here's what he did. Confusingly, the right side of your brain controls the left side of your body, and vice versa. Again, Sperry was working with people who had had the connections severed between their left and right brain, which is still done today as a treatment for severe epilepsy and has fewer side effects than you'd think. But this means that these patients' brains couldn't share information between halves, so everything they saw from the left side of their field of view, with both eyes, was processed only by the right side of their brain, and vice versa. Sperry had his patients put their left hand, again, the one controlled by the right side of their brain, the side that doesn't process language, on a tray of random objects. They could touch the tray, but not see it. And then he showed them a word corresponding to one of the objects on the tray on the left side of their field of view. The people would then grab that object, But if they were asked what word they were just shown, they'd say that they hadn't seen a word at all, and couldn't explain why they were holding the object in question. So the right hemisphere can perceive language, but cannot generate it. Back to Julian Jaynes. After years of study and rumors that he was working on something truly revolutionary, or insane, in 1976, Jaynes published the book that would become synonymous with his name, The Origin of Consciousness in the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind. Nonfiction books still had dry titles like that. Today it would be something like, Are You There, God? It's Me, Nebuchadnezzar, The Origin of Consciousness in the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind. This is his theory. In ancient civilizations, everyone was constantly hallucinating a god talking to them, coming out of their right hemisphere. The left hemisphere, the human side, then acted in response to what the god in the same brain was telling them. That's how you get a concept of personal or household gods, which almost all early civilizations had. It's also how you get theocratic god kings, something also found in almost all early civilizations. If your culture tells you that the voice in your head is the pharaoh talking to you, giving you instructions, of course you'll build some pyramids for him. It's why there doesn't seem to be any introspection, any concept of a mind as something people have in literature before the Bronze Age collapse. It's why archaeologists find so many idols in excavating Bronze Age homes, because those were used to channel and amplify the hallucinated voices of the gods. Plenty of ancient sources describe people talking to an idol.
Gentlemen, don't be afraid. As you can see, we are protected. Come, drink your allegiance here. You control the police, now use them.
Pepona.
Siempre.
Sonidero latino.
so big? Jesse, it's just basic chemistry, yo.
I get the feeling you're more interested in making gains than cooking up this batch of whey. I'm gonna have Bolter watch you for a bit. Now get the fuck on with it.
Cook motherfuckers. You small piece of shit. Why do I even bother trying to be natty with these juiced up roid heads walking over me?
Hey, babe.
Hank, are you okay, baby?
I'm fine, Marie. Jesus Christ!
Let's talk about something else, baby. Have you got any new lift dead PBs lately?
They're called deadlifts, Marie, not lift deads. Haven't you got somewhere better to be? In fact, why are you even asking? You know damn well that I haven't hit a deadlift PB in 3 years, primarily because I'm still natty. If you fed me a bit more protein each day, I'd be hitting those PBs more regularly. Fuck you! Mr. Way, how are we getting so big? Jesse, it's just basic chemistry, yo.
I get the feeling you're more interested in making gains than cooking up this batch of whey. I'm gonna have Bolter watch you for a bit. Now get the fuck on with it.
cook motherfuckers. You small piece of shit. Why do I even bother trying to be natty with these juiced up roid heads walking over me?
Hey, babe.
Hank, are you okay, baby?
I'm fine, Marie. Jesus Christ!
Let's talk about something else, baby. Have you got any new lift dead PBs lately?
They're called deadlifts, Marie, not lift deads. Haven't you got somewhere better to be? In fact, why are you even asking? You know damn well that I haven't hit a deadlift PB in 3 years, primarily because I'm still natty. If you fed me a bit more protein each day, I'd be hitting those PBs more regularly. Fuck you!
The battlefield changes, yet we must be constant.
Push it up! Look, let's start with some tough love, all right? Ready for this? Here it goes. You two suck at peddling whey. Period.
In readiness.
Now, before we talk about distribution, what sort of inventory are you sitting on? Well, we had certain supply issues with milk, free-range chicken, and curd, so right now we're only sat on a couple of pounds. Well, there's your first mistake. You don't want to load up the whey with premium ingredients like free-range chicken. You should load it chock full with any protein source you can find. Bull balls, bat wings, you name it. But Saul, doesn't that affect the quality of the product? And isn't it like unethical or some shit? Mr. Pumpman, if you're gonna get anywhere in this racket, you need to leave ethics at the door. It's 2026 anyway. People just do what they want now. So basically, grow some balls. The first thing is to say, you don't get high on your own supply, so no consuming the whey yourselves. Understood? Now, I have a distributor I can line you up with. But first, let's get a pump on. Hell yeah! Let's go, baby!
Ready to command.
Thank you for agreeing to meet with us, Gain Starvo. Saul said you are a busy man, so we really appreciate it. Gentlemen, I will make this simple for you. You need to bring me 4 pounds of crystal blue whey every week. My customers will not tolerate inconsistency, contamination, or weak formulation. I pride myself on creating whey that awakens the inner Viking in the men who take it. 1 scoop, and a man should feel capable of killing their enemies and smearing himself with their blood. Now, before we conduct business together, I need to check one thing. You guys are both natty, right? We sell the product, but we do not take the product. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that you can never trust a roid rager. And please, be honest with me.
Mr. Trang, I promise we're both 100% natural. I know we're huge, but we just lift heavy and regularly. And eat plenty of protein, of course.
That is quite impressive. Okay then, let's cook, motherfuckers.
Sharek left the galaxy voluntarily and came back 60 million years later on purpose, not hiding, not grieving. He went to look at what was coming toward the galaxy. What he found convinced him the galaxy has maybe 1,000 years left total. The Warhammer universe isn't a setting of endless war. It's a countdown timer running. There's an endgame buried in the lore that most channels never fully connect together. The Rana Dandra, Ennead waking, the Golden Throne failing, the full hive mind arriving. Not one apocalypse, 4 of them, stacked and scheduled, arriving at the same window. And Sharek, the oldest surviving mind in 40k, has watched this exact pattern before. He was there when the war in heaven ended and the old ones lost everything. He watched the Eldar Empire peak, saturate, and detonate in a single psychic scream. He is 60 million years old. He came back because it is getting worse. The worst part, he might be the only one with an actual coherent plan here. While the Imperium debates scripture, 4 separate apocalypses are all running toward the same window. The Chaos Gods already know this is coming. They're planning around it, not panicking about it. Nobody in the Imperium has read all 4 of them. Sharek has. The endgame isn't everyone dying. It's about what replaces everything that gets consumed. That's the question Sharek went to answer. He came back. The answer wasn't reassuring. The first domino is already falling. It's been falling for 3 centuries beneath Holy Terra. The Golden Throne is degrading, and the Adeptus Mechanicus knows and cannot fully stop it. In Echoes of Eternity by Aaron Dembski-Bowden, the Fabricator General admits this out loud finally. The throne wasn't designed to sustain a god. It was built for something completely else. In Master of Mankind, the Emperor explains it. A gateway into the human webway project. The plan was safe passage for humanity through the warp. No Astronomican dependency, no toll. Magnus the Red destroyed the webway project. The throne became emergency life support by accident. 10,000 years on improvised infrastructure. Nobody alive understands how to fully maintain it properly. The Mechanicum performs maintenance rituals because the actual technical knowledge was lost centuries ago now. They're praying to keep a machine running. The machine was never designed for prayer. 1,000 psychers die every day just to keep the Astronomican burning across the galaxy. Without the Astronomican, warp navigation dies. Without navigation, the Imperium fractures within decades automatically. Without the Imperium holding the line, there's nothing left to hold the Tyranids back. The Silent King visited Terra during the Indomitus Crusade. He wouldn't enter the throne room. He's 60 million years old. He knows what a dying god looks like up close. Guilliman came back from 10,000 years in stasis and immediately understood what was happening here. He's running the Imperium at emergency pace, racing a deadline he publicly refuses to name. He won't name it because naming it would cause a panic that kills faster than time. The political situation in the Imperium. The galaxy is ending and nobody can agree on budget. But the throne isn't why Sharek came back. Domino 2 is much, much worse than that. He went beyond the galactic rim and found what was waiting in the void out there. Not a hive fleet, not Leviathan, not Kraken, the actual main body of the hive mind. Leviathan and Kraken were the largest biological invasions in recorded history by enormous orders of magnitude. They were scouts, advanced probes, tasting the galaxy before the main fleet commits to arrival. In the 5th edition Necron Codex, Sharek's assessment, the hive mind will consume all life here. Not some life, all of it. down to the last bacterium in every cave everywhere. The Tyranids don't hate anything. They have no ideology. They just eat and then move on. No negotiating with a hive mind, no truce, no strategic retreat option, nothing. His calculation: Necron biological redemption requires life to still exist in the galaxy somewhere out there. If the Tyranids consume the galaxy, there's nothing left to reclaim. Necron redemption dies too, so his plan to save the galaxy conveniently ends with Necrons inheriting it completely afterward. He's not altruistic. He's running the longest con in the history of the galaxy. Save the galaxy from the Tyranids first, then inherit it forever. Solid two-step plan, honestly. He visited Ultramar. He met Gilliman. He told him exactly none of what he actually knew. He offered the Silent King's forces. He did not explain the terms and conditions attached here. Gilliman accepted because you don't turn down an undying robot army when everything is ending anyway. What Sarek didn't mention? The terms come due once the Tyranids have been fully dealt with. In the Indomitus novel, Sarek looks at the dying light of the Emperor's psychic beacon. He doesn't mourn, he calculates. He's running a timeline the Imperium doesn't know exists. 60 million years of watching civilizations build and then calculating precisely when they fall apart. The Eldar are the one faction that understands this kind of patience. They've been doing it too. And the Eldar have their own domino. One that's been building for 10,000 years now. Ennead, the Eldar god of death, growing in the infinity circuit from every soul that dies. The Lord channels cover events. Nobody maps what the events are building toward. The setting isn't about who wins. It's about what the galaxy chooses to become after losing. Every major faction has an endgame. Most aren't trying to survive. They're trying to become something else. The Eldar are engineering their own extinction, so something entirely new can be born from it. The Necrons are engineering everyone else's survival, so they have something to eventually inherit afterward. The Emperor might not be dying. He might be becoming something this universe has never seen before. And the Tyranids, the actual existential threat, are the only faction with no endgame except eating. They're the clock everyone else is racing. Everything else is just noise until they arrive. Sarek knows this. He's been planning around it for 60 million years, patiently. The question isn't whether 40k ends, it's whether anything worth keeping exists on the other side. Back to Domino 3. The Eldar and the god they've been feeding with their own dead. The Infinity Circuit holds dead Eldar souls, protected from Slaanesh hunger in the warp itself. Every craft world is a living ship that doubles as a soul storage device for the dead. They were designed as lifeboats from the fall of the Eldar. 10,000 years ago now, Slaanesh was born when Eldar hedonism reached critical mass and the birth scream ate most of their race. Survivors built craft worlds to avoid feeding the god they accidentally created through their own excess civilization. But Ennead, the death god the Eldar want to exist, grows stronger with every death recorded. The theory written into core Eldar lore for decades. Enough Eldar die and Ennead wakes. When Ennead fully manifests, it's supposed to be powerful enough to kill Slaanesh in the warp. Kill Slaanesh, free the Eldar souls held captive for 10,000 years, Eldar reborn. Potentially. That's the Rana Dandra, the Eldar word for their final battle and their own engineered apocalypse. Not an apocalypse they fear, one they're actively building toward through their own calculated extinction. The Eldar are engineering their species' end as a birth canal for a god. This is their plan. They had a civilization so perfect, it created a god from their excess. This is the sequel plan. Eldrad Ulthran has been pushing this agenda for longer than most Imperial worlds have existed at all. In Fracture of Biotan, he tried to awaken Ennead early and fractured an entire craft world doing it. He sacrificed a craft world anchor point, destroyed a piece of living Eldar history to accelerate the process. He calculated that a partial early awakening was worth what it cost. He wasn't wrong exactly. Ennead manifested partially, not fully, but enough. Yvraine was born as its prophet in the process. The Ynnari exist specifically to accelerate Eldar death. Feed Ennead, finish Slaanesh. That's the whole brief. The catch, the prophecy doesn't specify whether the Eldar survive Ennead's awakening or die alongside Slaanesh. Eldrad knows this. He's proceeding anyway. I genuinely don't know what to do with that. The webway runs through all of this. That's the thread everyone keeps missing. The human webway project Magnus destroyed was supposed to make humanity safe from the warp entirely. The Eldar webway, still partially functional, runs through every faction's territory like old arterial roads. When Slaanesh dies, if Ined works, the warp tears Slaanesh caused may partially heal. A healed warp means safer travel. Safer travel changes the Imperium's survival math completely. The Rana Dendra isn't just an Eldar event. If it works, it restructures the warp itself. Sharek accounted for this. You can see it in how carefully he moves. 3 apocalypses in, and Sharek is the only one who read all the prophecies and made a spreadsheet. Domino 4. The one all 3 other dominoes are feeding from different sides. Chaos itself. The Chaos Gods are ancient, but they're not invincible. They have one core vulnerability nobody exploits. They're made of belief, emotion, the psychic weight of trillions of minds feeling things constantly. Khorne feeds on killing, Tzeentch on scheming, Nurgle on decay, Slaanesh on every single want. Each god is the accumulated emotion of billions of lives, crystallized into a single warp entity. They don't just want to destroy the universe, they want to consume the emotions inside it. A universe with no mortals is a universe with no chaos gods. They need us to exist. The Book of the Astronomicon says the Old Ones understood this. Exactly. And still lost. Kill all sentient life and chaos starves. The Tyranids figured this out without ever intending to. The hive mind doesn't fear, hope, or rage. It just wants to eat and it never stops. When Tyranids consume a world, the psychic shadow of that world goes cold and silent in the warp. The warp around Tyranid-consumed regions becomes a dead zone. Chaos can't follow them into their own trail. In older Eye of Terror campaign supplementals, this was noted but never developed into a full thread. The Tyranids are accidentally the one weapon Chaos cannot counter, consume, or redirect at all. Their consumption starves the gods themselves, so the Chaos gods have a stake in stopping them too. Tzeentch sees this. The Plans Within Plans god is the one Chaos entity who understands the long game here. One argument, Tzeentch keeps humanity at war specifically to force preparation for what's coming beyond the rim. Keep humanity fighting, keep the warp screaming, because a quiet warp is a dead warp. To Tzeentch's strategy, make everything worse in order to prevent the one thing that would make everything permanent. But Chaos doesn't actually want to win. That's the part people miss. The Chaos gods disagree constantly. Khorne and Tzeentch have been at war for actual eons now. A Chaos victory is also a Chaos death. Nothing left to feed on, no more emotion generated. Some 40k philosophers argue this is Tzeentch's deepest plan. Keep the game going forever, never resolve it. In 1,000 Suns by Graham McNeil, Magnus tries to warn the Emperor because he understood this. He understood. The heresy wasn't about winning. It was about locking everything into permanent irresolution instead. Horus was meant to lose. Tzeentch wanted a wounded Imperium, not a dead and silent one. Tzeentch doesn't want a functioning Imperium, but a dead one in cold silence is worse for it. It wants exactly what it has right now. 10,000 years of grinding, bleeding, psychically screaming war. If Tzeentch is engineering this on purpose, it is the most diabolical entity ever written into fiction. Sharek sat outside the galaxy, watching all of this from beyond the rim. He reached the same conclusion. The endgame isn't a fight. Something has to fill what Chaos consumed. That's the whole problem. The lore has 4 possible futures. I've read them all. Only 2 aren't catastrophic. The Emperor wakes. Not healed, transformed, something that didn't exist before and can't be consumed. The Star Child theory, from Rogue Trader era lore, describes the Emperor's soul rebuilding in the warp. Not as an emperor, as a warp entity built from 1 trillion human faith deaths across 10 millennia. The Sensei were his immortal sons scattered across the Imperium, unknowingly feeding this transformation by existing. In the original 1st edition lore, factions were working to accelerate this, the Illuminati and the Sensei. The Sensei lore was quietly retired. It was never formally contradicted, and some of it crept back in. If the Emperor wakes, the Astronomicon doesn't need the throne. It becomes his direct, sustained will. Warp navigation solves itself. The Chaos Gods face an entity built specifically to oppose them. He spent millennia destroying religion, so he wouldn't accidentally become a chaos-feeding god himself in the process. In Master of Mankind, he tells Diocletian, gods consume everything that believes in them unconditionally. He watched the Chaos Gods be born from emotion. He knows exactly what that threshold feels like. A transformed emperor is humanity's salvation, or the fifth Chaos God, nothing in between. Having a plan that ends in either salvation or new Chaos God is very 40k energy, honestly. Or Iniad kills Slanesh, partially heals the warp, and enough Eldar survive to help fight. Best case scenario still involves most of the Eldar dying to make the Waking actually work, or the Necrons outlast everything. Tyranids beaten, Sarek inherits whatever galaxy is left behind. His biological redemption requires something alive to transfer back into. He needs the galaxy to survive for that. His definition of survival is flexible enough to not include most of the current inhabitants of it. Or nobody wins, Tyranids consume, chaos follows, the galaxy goes cold, and that's all. The lore suggests this is the default outcome if no one coordinates. Nobody is currently coordinating at all. The Imperium, the Eldar, and the Necrons all have partial pieces of a solution. They won't share them. Sharek has the clearest picture of all of them. He came back from outside knowing the full scope. He shared intelligence selectively. Some factions got some pieces. Nobody got the full picture from him. In the Psychic Awakening books, Sharek and Eldrad meet and speak somewhere inside the ancient webway. Two oldest minds in the galaxy, both running calculations, each sharing exactly half a truth with the other. Eldrad knows about the Emperor's transformation. Sharek knows the full Tyranid scale. Neither will fully commit. The four dominoes aren't separate anymore. They're feeding each other now. Throne failure accelerates the Tyranid timeline. Less Astronomicon means less coordinated defense across the sectors, less resistance, faster Tyranid spread, fewer psychic minds feeding the warp, weaker Chaos Gods. Weaker Chaos gives Iniad more room to grow, accelerating the Rana Dandra timeline itself. Faster Rana Dandra kills Slanesh sooner, healing the warp, possibly slowing the throne's decay rate. Every domino accelerates the others. They're not sequential, they're concurrent. And Sharek, running a 60 million year calculation, is the only one who sees all four falling together. The human webway. Remember? The Project Magnus shattered when everything started unraveling 10 millennia ago. The Emperor transforms. The webway reopens. Not repaired, replaced. Something that didn't exist before anywhere. Built from his changed will, bypassing the warp entirely. No more Astronomicon, no more throne. Fixes navigation, kills the throne problem, and helps resistance against the Tyranids. 3 issues. 1 transformation. The galaxy's survival depends on an act that mirrors the one that started the 10,000 year decline. Magnus broke the webway 10,000 years ago. The endgame might require building a replacement from scratch. Magnus, you had one job, and now 10,000 years later, we're still living in the consequences. Honestly, 300 pages of Black Library novels about what happens when a Primarch tries to do everything himself. The Chaos Gods endgame is the most complicated because they disagree on what an endgame even looks like. Khorne wants war forever. Nurgle's fine with the slow rot. Tzeentch wants the game to never resolve. Slanesh is the wild card. It's going to die, and its death changes what the remaining 3 can do. When Slanesh falls, chaos shifts. Khorne and Nurgle both gain. Tzeentch loses a direct competitor for souls. In older White Dwarf articles, Aenead's birth was theorized to trigger an internal war within chaos itself. The Tyranids don't pray, don't dream. The hive mind is the one thing that starves chaos permanently. If Enid kills Slanesh while Tyranids consume the outer galaxy, chaos faces a war on 2 fronts. 3 gods fighting for Slanesh's territory, while the hive mind eats the galaxy from underneath them. This is the window. The lore's very endgame window. The moment the other factions have a real chance, Sharek knows this window exists. His plan depends on reaching it with enough pieces still on the board. In Devastation of Baal, the Silent King watches the Blood Angels fight Tyranids. He observes. He doesn't help. He calculates how much resistance humanity can sustain before the numbers fail. He's working out when to intervene, not if, when. The timing is everything. Too early, and humanity burns irreplaceable resources against Tyranids. Too late, and there's nothing left to coordinate with. A 60-million-year-old mind doing actuarial math on civilizations while people die in front of him. Sharek is the actuarial table of 40k. He calculates when things die. He is rarely wrong. He watched the old ones lose. He made that happen. He knows how quickly good things end. The war in heaven was supposed to end differently. The Necrons weren't supposed to lose their biological forms. The Cetan Pact was supposed to give invincibility. It gave immortality without life instead. A far worse deal. He might be right. The Necron option might genuinely be the least worst thing going. A galaxy where Tyranids are beaten, chaos diminished, the Emperor transformed or absent. That's the optimistic timeline. The Necrons waiting 60 million years for biological redemption, inheriting whatever the galaxy leaves behind. The best possible outcome is still a tragedy. The goal is less extinction, not something good. The question the lore never fully answers after 60 years, is anything in here worth keeping? The Imperium, built on terror and deliberate ignorance, a machine that works by preventing people from thinking. The Eldar way? They built a civilization so perfect it created a hunger god from their own excess. The Necron dream, return to flesh after 60 million years in cold metal that never stops working. Is Sharek still Sharek after 60 million years of metal? He insists yes without any biological evidence. That's a heavy question. His answer is, I am still Sharek, delivered from inside a living skeleton. The Emperor's answer was always, start over. Let humanity grow without gods, without chaos, without these mistakes. In Master of Mankind, he tells Amina something close to admission. The Imperium was never his actual plan. The Imperium is the failure state, the cathedral built over the ruins of the project he wanted. That project, humanity free of the warp, was destroyed before it ever worked. Destroyed by Magnus, who loved him, who ruined everything trying to protect what he cared about most. 10,000 years of horror. A father's dream destroyed by a son's misplaced and catastrophic love. Sharek knows the Emperor's actual plan died when Magnus shattered the Webway project 10,000 years back. He isn't working toward the Emperor's vision. He's working after it fails completely, and the dust settles, which might be why the two cannot speak directly, both building on the same field of ruins. When Ennead wakes, Slaanesh dies. The Eldar are freed. Some die in the waking itself. Sharek accounted for it. He needs a stable warp more than Eldar's souls honestly, and he knows it. Eldrad knows this. Sarek knows Eldrad knows. They're courteous about it and keep planning regardless. Two beings who watched every other civilization collapse, planning around each other's acceptable losses with perfect politeness. Not one apocalypse, not a final battle, a series of replacements. The throne replaced by something unknown. Slaanesh replaced by a void. The hive mind just gone. The question left when the replacing is finished: what kind of galaxy do you build from silence? The lore doesn't answer it. Games Workshop has never given 40k a canonical ending for obvious commercial reasons, but everything in the setting points the same direction, toward a galaxy unrecognizable from what currently exists. Good news, the grimdark Eternal War setting has an actual endgame in it. Bad news is the endgame. The most optimistic outcome involves most of humanity dying, most of the Eldar dying too, and Sharek waiting in metal for something biological to exist that he can finally return into after everything settles. 60 million years of patience, the war in heaven, the Cetan betrayal, the exile beyond the galactic rim. He came back to watch the end, to be there when the slate finally clears. No scene in the lore shows Sharek hoping for anything. He doesn't do hope. In the Indomitus novel, He looks at the stars over Terra, and he calculates. That's all he does. He came back. That's the detail the lore never says quite loud enough about him anywhere. He could have stayed out there. Let the hive mind finish the galaxy off without him watching. He came back because 60 million years hadn't killed whatever decided thing still mattered somehow. Not love, not hope. Something that keeps calculating long after both of those have gone quiet. The hive mind waits beyond the rim. Yeniad stirs in 10,000 infinity circuits across the galaxy. The Emperor dreams below. Whatever he's becoming has been building for 10,000 years in the dark. Sharek closes the calculations, adjusts the timeline. He hasn't panicked once in 60 million years. A warrior behind him asks if there's news. He says nothing. He turns away from the view. He faced the end once before. The choice he made then cost everyone around him everything. Cost flesh, dreams, biological life, payment, immortality in dead metal that never stops and never rests.
An orc got hit so hard he stopped wanting to fight anyone. The Wogfield hasn't stopped screaming about it for 3 weeks now. And the worst part? He seems pretty happy about the whole thing. Orcs are psychic. Not the way the Imperium pretends to understand psychics. Every orc alive contributes to a gestalt field of pure, coordinated aggression. Metals work better near orcs. Their guns fire when they mechanically shouldn't. A painted truck goes faster because the orcs believe painted trucks go faster. The Adeptus Mechanicus confirmed this. They ran the tests. They hated the results. The Wa is a collective consciousness running on one fuel source. Violence. Always. Less a psychic gift and more a species-wide ambient broadcast signal, blanketing everything. Basically a radio station that plays one song at maximum volume forever. Now imagine one listener tunes out and starts humming something peaceful instead. That's Urgok. Past tense might be premature. He's actually fine. He took a Baneblade shell to the cranium and woke up asking for water. Not, what kind of DACA do you have? Not, where'd the fight gone? Just water. The boys assumed it was a delayed rampage loading sequence somehow. They waited. He drank it slowly. He watched a fungus growing on a rock. He seemed interested in it. Peacefully. Without any interest in fighting it. The knob nearby said, "What's he doing?" and had no further questions available. Orcs don't have a word for peace. The concept never needed one before this. To understand why this broke everyone's brain, we need to talk orc neurology. Orcs don't have a central nervous system the way humans do. Exactly. Their brain structure is partially fungal, partially biological, and entirely impractical. Orc pain signals travel slower than humans, which explains their entire cultural history. A finger gets cut off, and the orc finds out 30 seconds later. This means an orc can sustain damage a space marine would consider fatal, and keep fighting, because the brain memo about dying hasn't reached headquarters yet. Bureaucratic nervous system. Very administratum of them, honestly, now that I think about it. But the orc brain is more interesting than people give it credit for. According to the 4th edition Orcs Codex, orc brains are divided by function unusually. Different regions handle violence, tactics, shouting, and mechboy instincts separately. The Painboy cast calls these the Crumpen Lobe, the Cunning Bit, and others. The Baneblade shell hit Urgok specifically in what Painboys call the Crumpen Lobe, the Aggression Center. The engine room, the part that makes orcs want to fight. The Wa field runs on aggression the way a generator runs on fuel. Every orc contributes. Every angry thought feeds the signal. Every Wa powers the grid. A single orc's contribution is tiny. The mob's combined output is enormous. Weird boys sit at the field's intersection with reality, and it breaks them regularly. Being a weird boy is essentially a job where your office is an exploding head. When the mob masses, weird boys describe the experience as the green going loud. The Wa energy can build past the weird boy's ability to channel it at all. At that point, the weird boy explodes. Occupational hazard, known risk. They do it anyway. Now imagine the field gets one peaceful signal in the middle of all that. Not silence, not absence, something different. A frequency with no protocols at all. The weird boy nearest Urgok described it to the mech boys in significant distress later. He said it felt like someone stuck a pillow inside a running engine block. Not breaking anything, just wrong. Soft in a place that's supposed to be loud. The weird boy needed a lie down, which is a phrase you've never heard about weird boys. The Wog field isn't just disrupted by Urgok, it's trying to understand him. There's a concept in orc lore almost nobody outside Forge World texts covers. The Wog field has something like memory, pattern recognition built from millions of years. It knows what an orc should feel. 10,000 generations of accumulated data. According to the Badab War campaign books, orc psychers describe the field as alive. Not intelligent, but aware. A vast green hunger that knows its own appetite. When Urgok's signal goes peaceful, the field does something nobody had theorized before. It investigates. The field floods toward Urgok, trying to correct the signal. Urgok gets bigger, taller. The field is overclocking him to find the bug. He's now the biggest orc in camp and only wants to grow fungus. The Wa accidentally created a pacifist war boss through sheer overcorrection, which is incredible. This is also the point where the Goth Knob challenges him for dominance. Orc hierarchy runs on violence. Biggest in meanness rises. Simple, brutal, effective. The Knob challenges. Urgok looks at him with what everyone agrees was genuine pity. Not contempt. Actual pity. The Knob has no framework for being pitied at all. He swings anyway. Urgok doesn't dodge. The punch lands. Urgok stumbles. Doesn't retaliate. The Knob won and somehow felt worse for it. Unprecedented situation for everyone. And here's where orc theology, which is real, runs into trouble. Gork is brutal but cunning. Mork is cunning but brutal. Both are violence. The religious texts, scratched on skulls, don't have a category for this. There's no orc saint of contemplation, no green god of sitting quietly. Gork would stomp him for being soft, Mork for being inefficient. Urgok starts praying anyway. Not to Gork or Mork, to something he can't name. The weird boy says the Wa field flickers when Urgok prays, just for a second, like a light bulb processing an unexpected input before returning to normal operations. The 3rd edition Orc Codex has a line in the margins nobody reads. It says the Wa field, at sufficient scale, exhibits secondary cognitive resonance patterns. The writers probably didn't intend that to be alarming. They were wrong. Secondary cognitive resonance means the field doesn't just feel, it thinks. Crudely, but still. A thinking field encountering an unknown signal might, theoretically, respond to it. The weird boy reports that after Urgok's 3rd day of peaceful prayer, something answers. Not with words. More like the Wa field turned around and went, "Oi, what?" Now we need to talk about the Old Ones, and orc origins specifically. Orcs weren't designed to enjoy war. They were engineered to win it. The Old Ones, precursor race who seeded life across the galaxy, made orcs. The original orcs were called the Krork. Bigger, smarter, more organized entirely. They were weapons deployed against the Necrons during the War in Heaven. The Brain Boys, ancient orc intellectuals, were supposed to direct the Krork. Then the Brain Boys went extinct, and the Krork got left unsupervised. What happened next was predictable and entirely the Old Ones' fault. Here's the detail nobody connects. The Orc Wa field is Old Ones technology. Pain Boys call the field the Green Gift in their medical tradition. Horus Heresy Black Book 6, Retribution, describes captured orc psychers differently. Under interrogation, extensive, regrettable interrogation, one weird boy described the field's origin. The weird boy said the field remembers having a boss, still listens for the voice. Old Ones dead, Brain Boys extinct. The field's been running unsupervised for eons. Millions of years of broadcasting with no Brain Boy to give new instructions. Then Urgok sits quietly, projecting something the field hasn't tasted since Old One times. Not peace exactly, something older. Intentionality. A purpose that isn't more fighting, always. The field's reaction, the weird boy said later, was essentially, "What is this sensation?" Word reaches Warboss Grimtusk that one of his boys has gone not right upstairs. Grimtusk is a Goth, most violent orc clan, no subtlety whatsoever. He comes personally. This requires direct leadership. He is that kind of warboss. Urgok is sitting in a circle of small rocks, arranged carefully. Not rocks to throw. Rocks arranged because he found the pattern genuinely pleasing. Grimtusk stares at this for 45 seconds. The rocks. The orc. The rocks. This gets into the Death Watch kill team report from that sector specifically. He said, "What is de point?" in a genuinely philosophical register. Urgok answered him. In what the kill team report called passable low gothic, he said, "Dunno, but it feels right," and went back to his rocks. Grimtusk stood there for what witnesses estimated as 7 full minutes, processing this. Then he picked up one rock, looked at it, set it back down. The weird boy's head exploded at this point, which felt appropriate given circumstances. Not because of violence, because the Wog field spiked when Grimtusk touched the rock. One of the most aggressive orcs alive, briefly, felt something adjacent to contemplation. The field, running on aggression fuel, had no idea how to process it. Orcs regenerate. The weird boy grew a new head. He seemed quieter after. The question the Imperium never thinks to ask: has this happened somewhere before? The Lexicanum has one fragment about an orc called Da Contemplata on Cephalic 6. A rogue trader observed him for 3 months from a safe distance. He didn't fight, he didn't loot, just walked the battlefield and watched things grow. The rogue trader's report reads, "Recommended annihilation." Then, "though I don't know why." The fear a peaceful orc triggers makes sense once you think about it. If Urgok chose peace, that means every other orc is choosing violence, constantly, not driven to it biologically, choosing it. Every orc, every moment, 10,000 years. Imperial doctrine has no category for a Xenos species choosing its own nature. The Ordo Xenos file is classified tertius, which means someone panicked hard. Back to the field. The weird boy, new head, notices something has shifted. The energy near Urgok carries a new frequency. Still green, still orky, but quieter. The weird boy's description in the report. The green, but slow like water. Green, but slow like water. Not raging, but present. Different in kind entirely. In Xenology by Simon Spurrier, the alien autopsy novel, there's relevant context. The Wa field is described as having subharmonic resonances, unmeasured by standard instruments. Most tech priests look at the loud part of the field. Nobody measures undertones. Urgok is broadcasting on the subharmonic. It existed before him. He amplifies it. This is discovering your radio had a jazz station nobody knew about. The subharmonic connects to something the old ones buried in orc biology deliberately. When the war ended, what were the Kork supposed to become? The old ones had a plan. Build for war, decommission them for peace. The shutdown protocol might still be there, dormant, unused for millions of years. Urgok might not be broken. He might be the orc functioning as designed, the old one's pacifist mode, activated by a Baneblade shell. Poetic, honestly. Day 5. The Pain Boy arrives, which is when things get medically creative. Pain Boys occupy a strange position in orc society. Healer, torturer, scientist, artist. They fix problems with surgery. They measure health by willingness to fight immediately. A non-fighting orc is, medically speaking, an orc with an undiagnosed critical condition. His diagnostic tool. Can you fight? The answer determines the entire treatment plan. He asks Urgok. Urgok says he'd rather not fight. Maybe talk instead. The Pain Boy writes this down in his skull book, nodding professionally and saying nothing. His verdict? Your brain is broke. His treatment plan? A very large wrench. Orc medicine. Hit the patient until they stop reporting the undesirable symptom. Urgok doesn't dodge. He holds out some fungus he'd been growing, peacefully offering it. The Pain Boy stops, wrench raised, looking at the fungus. This isn't in any training. He takes it. He doesn't know why. It smells okay. That's unusual. Then he hits Urgok anyway, because professional standards must be maintained regardless. Urgok is fine. The Pain Boy eats the fungus walking out. Doesn't report back. The Pain Boy's final note reads, "Patient is strange, but not dying. Recommend observation." Week 3. Grimtusk starts visiting Urgok's rock circle without telling anyone. Not fighting, not threatening, just sitting nearby while Urgok